Hi friends, if you're new, welcome to my channel. Why don't you go down, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss anything. For my fans and subscribers, welcome back. I really do appreciate you. Today's topic is the emergence of Israel Iron Age 2C and Judah. This would coincide with the 7th century. Let's go! This period is bookended by two spectacular destructions. In Israel, the end had come with the Assyrian campaigns in 731 to 721, after which the region was incorporated into the Assyrian Empire. In 701 BCE, the Assyrian campaigns of Sennacherib held sway over Judah, and in 587-586, the Babylonian destruction of Judah came, after which Judah ceased to be a state. The northern kingdom of Israel had already fallen to the Assyrians in the campaigns from 734 to 721 BCE, giving birth to the legend of the 10 lost tribes of Israel. After he conquered Samaria in 721, Sargon II marched further south. In 712 BCE, he campaigned against Ashdod, but by this time he was receiving tribute not only from the kings of Philistia, but also from the kings of Judah. I will return to the evidence shortly, but first let's look at what was happening around the time Samaria fell. Assyrian deportations drastically reduced the population of Samaria. Others would have been killed, leaving those left behind in poverty. Many sought refuge in the relative safety of Judah, and evidence shows that many of these refugees ended up in Jerusalem. Scholars estimate this city grew from a population of about 8,000 to around 30,000 at this time. These projections come from Avogad's excavations that took place west of Temple Mount. Evidence of this population boom includes fortifications, extensive terracing, density of domiciles with no evidence of urban planning, and dozens of tombs outside the city walls. This places many demands on the officials. One way in which they tried to cope was to standardize weights and measures, which can be dated to the last 25 years of the 8th century and into the 7th century. These weights are mostly Judahite, although a handful do come from Israel. We can see the political borders of Judah through the distribution of shekel weights in the late 8th to 7th centuries. Royal stamped jar handles, which are seal impressions on large jars, also help delineate Judah's borders at this time. This, along with the evidence that the clays only came from a few places and that these jars bear the names of officials, tells us that the government was preparing for the Assyrian invasions that came in the late 8th century. Almost half of the known jar handles come from only 3 areas: Jerusalem, Ramat, Rahel, and Lachish. With petrographic analysis, we found that all but 2 jars come from the same region in the Shephelah. Despite its strategic location, Jerusalem has an inadequate water supply, with the only natural source being the Gihon Spring. In the 8th century, workers cut a 580-yard-long underground tunnel that conducted the spring water to a reservoir inside the city wall. This tunnel is still in use today. Finally, in preparation for the siege, workers built a stretch of wall in the Jewish quarter, excavated by Avagad. In that time, the wall extended to the Jaffa Gate, suggesting Jerusalem was 5 times bigger than it had previously been. In the 701 BCE invasions, Sennacherib claimed that he besieged Hezekiah, quote, like a caged bird, end quote. However, Jerusalem was spared, as was several other Judahite sites. We only know of 2 administrative centers in the 8th century Judah. Beersheba was a border fortress on Judah's southernmost border that ended in a fire. Stratum II has peak development. The second center was Lachish. Stratum III represents the 701 BCE destruction level and provides us a detailed look at a well-documented, prolonged siege in the ancient Near East. We have multiple sources for the fall of Lachish: archaeological evidence, reliefs found at Sennacherib's palace in Nineveh, and the neo-Assyrian annals. Interestingly, the Bible devotes only one verse to this destruction, found in 2 Kings 19:8. Several trends in demography are obvious in the recovery after the 701 BCE destruction. Scholars have assumed until recently that the demography of Judah stayed the same, although mostly destroyed. Most recently, scholars have concluded that many sites were, in fact, reoccupied. Nearly 24 sites show a possible occupation gap, then a diminished population. Former administration centers, like Lachish, ceased functioning altogether, while no cities fully recovered. Although there was a 701 BCE destruction level, some new settlements were founded in the 600s, like Ein Gedi. New settlements also popped up in the Judean desert and the Negev. Among the sites that gained importance were Assyrian strongholds. Forts increased greatly in the 7th century. There were only about 5 in the 8th century, as opposed to 14 in the 7th century. Most of these are in the area of Jerusalem and the Upper Dead Sea. In this time, we find mainly writings of economic and administrative activity, but there are examples of literature, most notably the Khirbet Bet Lay inscription, which is hard to make out, but appears to refer to Yahweh dispensing justice and mercy. Also, in a 7th century tomb in Jerusalem, scholars have found 2 engraved amulets made of silver that are engraven with writing that belongs to a tradition that is similar to the biblical tradition. Well, friends, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, press the subscribe button, and if you would like to know when I come out with new content, hit the the bell next to the subscribe button. My Twitter, Discord, email, PayPal website, and other social media links are in the description. If you would like to support me, you may do so on my PayPal link or on my Patreon link. Those links are also in the description. Keep learning and searching for truth. Here are a few videos from my library. If you have not watched them yet, go ahead and watch them and tell me what you think. Until next time, friends, stay safe and goodbye.